Escape from Tarkov is one of the most difficult games that I have ever played. It is pain, and its moments of delight, a minority. It is not a casual indulgence. Simply starting the game can be a daunting task. Many players have avoided it altogether. Those of us who remain do not go gentle into that good night. With this in mind, we must look back at our mistakes, rectify our past judgment, and endure. We must survive. We must escape from Tarkov. Welcome to the video, everybody. I've been trying some new things out, as you can see. Just want to try and find some different ways to keep you all entertained. But let's get down to brass tacks. This is a video about tactics and player psychology from the perspective of a filthy casual. It's one life playing solo on Shoreline, working a task that requires player kills. As always, I want to keep the new players in mind, but also provide a new line of thinking for the experienced. There's a million ways to play this game, and none are invalid. 2,000 hours has defined my solo playstyle, and most of the content I see doesn't reflect what I have to offer. I typically play in groups because pain shared is pain lessened, but every Tarkov player must eventually find their way as a solo. So first things first, I'm going to drop my backpack right here. It'll give me a low profile when I'm trying to go prone and ambush the players that are coming up to Resort. At the beginning of the video, you saw me spawn behind Resort. That's commonly referred to as God Spawn, or that's at least what my crew refers to it as. My kit is an SV98. That's a gun that's been around in the game for a long time, and I have a Burris full field scope on top of that. My sidearm, I believe, is a P226. I'm not too sure now that I'm coming back to this, but it's 9mm PST GZH, and the SV98 has LPS GZH, of course. Classic ammunition. Tango's spotted in the trees here. Now this is cut and dry. Since I have the advantage, I'm going to try to ambush them and lead the shot properly. I'm going to go for the one in the back. And I did not lead the shot well there at all. What I should have done was track his head, or just above his head where I want to hit with my reticle, and then fired, and I did not do any tracking. I just shot immediately, and that was definitely way too soon. So what I'm feeling right here is some fear. I'm really worried because I missed my shot there, and they could easily come around and flank me if they decided to push it. They seem like they could be aggressive. They seem like they could be chads. Now this has been about 2 minutes since spawn. I haven't edited or cut any of this so far. That should give you a realistic idea of how quickly you need to get into position when you know you have the advantage based upon your spawns. Still experiencing some fear here. I should probably get up and reposition, but right now I can't really control the fact that I'm feeling the way that I feel. It is a game. I know that if I die, I can just start over. This kit is cheap, not too big of a deal, but it appears that trusting my gut and staying prone has saved my life here. Skipping ahead here, I stayed still for about another minute. Just another quick housekeeping item. The sound is very low. I didn't intend for this to become a video, and I'm streaming on Twitch. There's some talking from fellow Discord members. I'm also talking to chat a little bit too as well, but I will enhance the sound as soon as the Discord members have left and after this point here. And this point is interesting because it's very unorthodox for a streamer or content creator to show. However, I find it important because I know it's relatable to player psychology, since after all, players are people. I have to find a safe spot to lay down and go AFK because I'm a dad. I can only play at night after everyone's asleep, but not everyone stays asleep. As I go tend to my restless child, I will fast forward us to when I return. Alright, so this is when I return, and we have an airdrop going on overhead. Total time elapsed was a whopping 15 minutes. Not a whole lot I can do about that. Being a dad is being a dad. It has its requirements. Naturally, I want to try and salvage this raid. I'm hoping that this airdrop will draw in some players maybe on their way to extract, and that way I can still go about completing some of this task. I would love to be a hardcore player, and I'm sure my FPS skills would be elite if I had the time, but I just don't. I know there's a lot of gamers out there with similar IRL restrictions, but it doesn't have to hold you back from playing a hardcore game like Tarkov. You hear that? That's a grenade. Most likely players, this is a chance for me to still get a little bit of this task done. Gonna speed this up a little bit here. I'm feeling pretty confident after coming back from AFK, and I'm still seeking the location of the airdrop as a backup plan. If you guys like this kind of tactical and personal commentary on how and why I play the game, leave me a comment and let me know what you think. I'd love to continue this series as a solo, or I could do one with my squad mates and explain their playstyles and how I play off of them and react to specific encounters. But for now, we're going to focus on my psychology and also the enemy psychology, which is coming up here in just a second. We should have another audio cue of a grenade going off. And there it is. I can't stress enough the importance of audio cues. Audio in Tarkov is a point of contention between players and the developer, but we have to work with what we've got. A good tip is to immediately face the sound, and as you come about, you can determine where the sound is coming from based on directional audio. If I'm already facing the sound, or listening for quieter cues like footsteps, I'll free look left and right. This helps to identify if the sound is coming from in front or behind. I've spotted a scav up here, sniper scav to be specific. There's a nice shot for you. The thinking behind that is the scav does not have a suppressed firearm, and I do. I can quietly remove him and eliminate the threat of detection from other players. Sniper scavs are AI and have tremendous range. I was lucky his back was turned during that encounter. Just going to fast forward a little bit here till I pull out my sidearm. And now we're going to get to the exciting part. On approach to the bus station or bus terminal, I'm going to be running up here. I'm listening. It's kind of hard to hear over my own breath. I think now is time to turn up the audio a little bit for you guys as well. I faintly hear a footstep here in a second. So those are pretty loud. They're inside of this building here, and I'm thinking it could be scavs. And I'm watching this guy run across. I'm thinking he's a scav. I can hear his footsteps in front of me, and I can hear more footsteps to my right now that I've panned across there, which tells me I'm dealing with two players now.
Oh my God.
All right. Now we're going to freeze frame on this for a second here. As a solo player, I have a superb advantage over this squad. They have to take the time to identify if I'm a teammate or an enemy, and this slight delay in comms gives every solo player extra milliseconds to react quicker than their opponents. Everyone is an enemy to me. I don't even have to think. Even though I nervously fire off a premature shot as he strafes around the corner, I'm still able to gain Peeker's advantage and hold onto the element of surprise. So what's Peeker's advantage? As I come around this corner, I have a slight advantage over his left-handed peek since I'm coming around on the right. This is because of game desynchronization, but mainly my player model's right-handed gun positioning puts the camera slightly off to the right. The view you are seeing in front of you right now is projected from somewhere between my character's right eye and right ear. This gives me a favorable angle over his left-handed sightline. The excitement of winning this fight is barely able to materialize in my mind before complete panic takes over. I'm instinctively heading into the building to take cover, unable to think for these few seconds. Once I can gather my thoughts, my training kicks in. I need to immediately vacate the area and tactically reposition. I'm undergeared for a fight with other players who have a similar kit to the one I just eliminated, and I know from audio cues there is at least one other opponent. I must assume a defensive position if I want to continue my task.
Fuck out of here.
This positioning is not ideal, but it's the best I can do at this time. I'm still processing my fear and trying to control my emotions to think clearly about my next move. I'm watching off to the left here, thinking that his teammates are going to come from the same place that he did initially, from down that hill. And now you can hear the grenades and the first probes from the enemy opponents. They're trying to draw me out. They're probably inside of that building, clearing corners. There's another grenade. This is typical behavior from experienced players. We've got a Chad on our hands. So he's using all the tools in his arsenal and treating the situation with extreme caution. He wants to fight and claim his squad mate's gear and his loot. So now I've decided that this position is not sufficient. I'm going to seek out a wider flank and claim the high ground. Right here, I'm utilizing the free look feature, holding my middle mouse button and looking to the right as I cross the road. At this point, my fear is replaced by a reluctant confidence. I'm sure this is the best possible plan, given the circumstances. As you can see, I'm making my way towards the west wing side of Resort. I am trying to be as cautious as possible, keeping my head on a swivel, trying to identify threats if they were to pop up in any direction. Getting into position here, I'm using caps lock in my mouse scroll wheel to control my crouch speed. My footsteps will go unheard and slower movements will prevent the enemy from spotting me. Right there was a suppressed shot. I'm not sure what they were doing or shooting at, but now we have a nice sight line to that player's body. And this angle is excellent because the trees there and the rocks to my left are really cutting off their sight line. If they're standing anywhere in my sight line right here, they're going to be very, very skittish because it's out in the open. Really, the only way that I'd be exposed is if they came up behind me or they used that ridge line directly ahead on the other side of the terminal to kind of crouch walk up. I need to be vigilant and looking over in that area as often as possible. All right, now a little bit more of a fast forward here. Try to keep these boring parts to a minimum. This is a very patient play style, and my specific kit has a lot to do with it, but I'm also trying to maximize my time online since I'm limited to only a few hours during each session. I have to kill quite a few players with the scab vest and balaclava for this task, so eliminating more than one player in this raid would be a big success. I'm trying out different angles here to peek from so I can see if they are forming a defensive position themselves. That area that I was just in seems like a likely spot, so I'm checking here. I want to keep this to a minimum though. The audio cues won't be that great for me up here, and they could loot their friend's body very quickly right underneath my nose. If you listen closely, you can hear some footsteps here. Even a patient player such as myself would have given up at this point, but since I'm now hearing footsteps again and I'm seeing the flashlights inside of the building, I know that there's still a chance. All right, another little fast forward right here. I tell you what, somebody really wants to get their buddy's gear back, and I am here for it. Some more flashlights inside of the building there. And that's the sound of another player falling off of a surface. So they're jumping around, trying to get a proper angle or something. I'm quietly hearing soft footfalls in grass. So I'm thinking they're just around the corner there, a little bit to the left, maybe about, 5 to 10 meters. Just got to stay quiet, not move, and not aim down sights because that'll make noise. Now there's the explanation for all the jumping. This is a key moment here because even though I have him in my sights, this player is approaching this situation very cautiously. He's a good player. He's constantly moving, making it difficult for a headshot, but he's shown clear intent. He will not stop until he's felt comfortable enough to loot his buddy. We talked about patience while soloing. but having restraint in certain moments, specifically like this one, can make all the difference. I'm feeling pretty confident now since they were up there and they didn't see me. I feel like I have the advantage. But in typical Tarkov fashion, the game is going to throw me for another loop here. Because Tarkov is a survival game, I'm now starving and almost dehydrated. My opponent decided to fire off some shots there, most likely a sign of impatience, but as you can see, I have all the time in the world. In case of moments like this, I keep my rations safely tucked away in my gamma container. I love these emergency water rations. They only take one slot and replenish 50 hydration, which is basically the equivalent of half a raid's worth of hydration. Doing some leaning, trying to get other angles. And now we have some more flashlights inside the building. This guy just will not give up. If you notice the game timer in the top right corner of my screen, there's about 9 minutes and 30 seconds until the raid is over. For those who don't know, all players must extract from specific points on the map before time runs out. If you're not able to extract, you lose everything you brought in with you and also any loot that you found along the way. More fast forwarding and more patience. Once this comes to an end, we're going to see some more flashlights and more shots from them. Most likely more impatience on their part.
I get it. You want to fight, but I'm not geared for that kind of fight. So I'm going to play to my advantage. Bucko.
If you have the sound up, you can hear him talking in the stream. Kudos to these guys for not stream sniping.
Ah, now you're coming, huh? Keep the stream.
I do have TTV in my name, so after I killed their first buddy, they could see that I am on Twitch streaming if they wanted to.
Get what you wanted?
I wasn't sure if you had enough time there to quickly grab his friend's dog tag.
Got the old tag around off of me. Guess we're both gonna die here, huh?
Again, you can hear I'm mentioning on stream, I guess we're both going to die here because he is also being very patient. There's also a slight difference in the clothing, so I'm almost 100% positive there are two players in this situation. I'm about to give up. I think that he picked up what he wanted from the body. The raid timer's almost up. It should be about that time to leave and abandon this situation. But players are people, and people are unpredictable. My patience is about to pay off. And there you have it. And of course, you know I love my slow-mo, so we're going to slow this one down. Right about there, we'll freeze frame that and replay it again. You can see how I drift up and then slightly to the right. Although he has the specific helmet that covers his ears, I want to make sure my bullet doesn't have a chance to ricochet off his helmet. I'm right at that point between his neck, his ears, and his jaws, which are all the most exposed headshot hitboxes. Every bone in his body, every fiber of his being was telling that player, do not stand still and loot my buddy. But he did it anyway. I'm going to mute the game sound now. There's a lot of chatter in the next few minutes. He ends up coming into my chat and his buddy says, wow, that's incredible. The guy I took out was not as happy, but they all turned out to be good sports. They followed the stream and I left their loot alone as a courtesy. I wanted to see what they had, and my suspicions were correct. They were thick boy Chad daddies, and it was a good move to keep the advantage. I had my 2 kills, so I hightailed it out of there. But this story doesn't have a happy ending. Tarkov has some basic rules to follow that I was ignoring during my excited chats with my newfound friends. The most fundamental part of this game, well, like the intro says, is to escape from Tarkov. I made it to extract here about 2 seconds too late. One last tip before I go, if you can't make it before the timer runs out, drop all your gear like I did and you'll at least get what you drop back in insurance. If you don't, it's lost forever. Please hit that subscribe button. I'm just starting out here, and that is key to building my channel. But thanks so much for watching till the end. Until next time.